Welcome to the Preach Wizards podcast. We had a tough loss, Wizards fans, against the Atlanta Hawks on March 10th yesterday. And for that loss, I have a song. I was hoping I was going to play a happy song today, but you know what I have to do. Yesterday, the Wizards' trouble seemed so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, the Wizards wish it was yesterday. Suddenly, we're not the team that we used to be. Now there's a shadow hanging over Bradley Beal. Oh, Bradley wishes it was yesterday. Why'd we have to lose? I don't know. I guess we couldn't score. Poor Bradley Beal. But now I can't pay my rent 'cause I lost it all on sports betting. Oh man, Wizards. That was a brutal loss. But before we get into that, welcome again to the Preach Wizards podcast. You know what time it is. It's time to preach. Welcome again to the Preach Wizards podcast. The Wizards had a tough loss to the Atlanta Hawks, and I'm going to talk about today what we can hope for the Wizards moving forward. Real quick, I got a new setup at my home setup. If anybody's watched my previous episodes, I got my piano set up here now, so I'll make sure to do some extra songs. Please leave any song requests in the comments. I am looking for titles of songs that would have to do that would pair well with wins or losses, such as the one you just heard. Again, I'm just doing it for parody purposes, but it is a lot of fun. Let's just hop right into a quick Hawks recap, and then talk about where the Wizards what we can look forward to as Wizards fans. Because I talked about the next 6 games 2 episodes ago. I talked about how the next 6 games should play out for us, and really I wanted us to go 3-3 in our next 6 games. And I'll actually switch screens here. Had a little audio problem before I was researching. All right, but anywho, let's hop in. You guys, I'm clicking all over the place, but let's look at the next couple of games here for the Wizards. So back when I looked at the next 6, I was hoping we could at least split with the Hawks. And I said we would win the Pistons game. So let's see. I wanted us to go 3-3 in our next 6 games. So we won against the Pistons. So now we're 1-2. So we have to win our next 2. Philly's been hot as of late. Actually, let's click on the 76ers here and see where they ended up. Okay, the 76ers just had a close game against the Trailblazers. Trailblazers are a decent team this year, but hey, if they were bucket for bucket with them at the end of the game, the Wizards have a shot. I mean, this would be great if the Wizards could beat the 76ers. But let's talk more about this Hawks recap first, and then we'll take a look moving forward. So I had some notes from the game, and let's focus on positives. Kuzma lately has seemed to slow down his game just a bit, which is very exciting. To me, I think he used to force the ball a little bit too much. Maybe someone talked to him about it. That's what I'm hoping. Because there was a play yesterday where the Wizards, I believe it was 67-67 in the third quarter, and we stole the ball, pushed it up the court. Kuzma had it. Could have definitely jacked up a 3 to be the hero and take the lead. He thought about it, then he didn't, and Daniel Gafford was wide open. By the time Kuzma passed the ball to him, he wasn't so wide open anymore, but then Gafford was still able to get up and get the dunk. And Kuzma had to think about it. What that tells me is that he is rethinking his game a little bit. I thought that play spoke volumes in that, hey, I can shoot the ball and be the hero when I need to be the hero, but I can't shoot the ball just at all times. Like he would do too many heat checks, in my opinion. You shouldn't do that all the time. And yeah, so Kuzma, if he is changing that part of his game and trying to fit into this team a little more, very cool. I think that means that he really wants to win. If you guys listen to the Locked On Wizards podcast, a couple episodes ago, they talked about some Kuzma comments that he had about the team, and their opinion seemed to be that it spoke that maybe he won't be here next year. That would be tough to lose Kyle Kuzma, because I think he is a really important part of our scoring and scoring production. He's gonna get paid next year, period. So that's gonna happen no matter what. So Kuzma definitely is going to get his paycheck, but I think the Wizards should do all they can. I think that this Washington Wizards team has fun playing together, especially when they win. Who wouldn't? But they seem to really get along. I've seen like Delon Wright doing the turbo in the background when Denny scores a bucket. Just the celebrations. They seem like they have a good core. So that matters a lot. And I think that Kyle Kuzma could spread his wings here as a leader and a real scorer. If he leaves and goes somewhere else, not sure he plays that same role. However, if he can get on the Phoenix Suns right now with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, if they can make that happen, I think that that's a no-brainer for him, because he has a real shot at winning a title. So there's the only other thing, because I know there was some Suns interest. So if he left and went there, wouldn't surprise me. However, we could really get some great pieces from Phoenix for Kuzma. Maybe he can walk at the end of the season. He might be able to walk. Yeah, because he can opt out as player option. So I'm not sure we get anything. So that's unfortunate. But we'll see where Kuzma ends up. I hadn't thought about that till just now, you guys. If Kuzma has a chance to go to Phoenix, he'd be an idiot not to. So that's tough. We'll see what happens. Okay, Kuzma playing more patient is great. Another note I had from the game, let's stick with the positives. Kristaps Porzingis seems to be having a better second half of basketball, making some shots. He had a rough little slump there. So that's a good sign. And I have to say, there seemed to be some urgency in this game. Like, we have to win this one. This is important. They felt the same pressure that we, the fans, felt, which was nice to see. In the first quarter, they really came out to punch them in the mouth and set the pace, and I think the Wizards definitely did. I guess from here now, we're going to switch to the positives. Well, if they did set the pace, if they did have control of this game, why did we lose 114 to 107 that we can see on my screen right here? I thought about it a lot last night, and if we're going to talk about the team, the players, I think one of the stats is our three-point shooting. Kyle Kuzma, 1 for 3. Kristaps Porzingis, 3 for 7. Not bad. Obviously, Gafford, nothing. Monte Morris, 0 for 2. Bradley Beal, 1 for 5. Corey Kispert, 1 for 5. Denny Avdia, 1 for 2. We'll take that from Denny all day long. 1 for 2. Great. Delon Wright, 0 for 1. Jordan Goodwin, 0 for 2. So some of these guys, we don't need them to make threes. Let's say Jordan Goodwin, if he makes one, good for us, but it's not going to make or break a game for us, I don't think. Same with Monte, although he's made some big shots in the past. But let's talk about the players that need to make threes. Corey Kispert needs to shoot better than 1 for 5. Bradley Beal needs to shoot better than 1 for 5. Kyle Kuzma, 1 for 3's okay, but he missed 2 big-time corner three-pointers and stepped out of bounds on one of them late in the game. So there goes Clutch Kuz. I mean, he was unclutch, lost us the game, truly, with those misses on the basket. So that was really, really tough. But again, I have the opinion that Kuz is trying to evolve his game, so maybe he's overthinking right now. But now let's pivot to the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young, 6 for 10. He was finally killing us. It's been a while since I've seen Trae Young really turn it up against us, so that didn't surprise me. DeJounte Murray, 1 for 3, still pretty good. Dale, is his name Dale? I forget. Hunter. I can't remember what his. It's probably not Dale. Whatever. Hunter on the Hawks. He's 1 for 3. Still not bad. Saddiq Bey 3 for 4, and Bogdan Bogdanovic 4 for 8. See, to me, Bogdanovic, Trae Young, I don't really know who else a shooter is on their team. It looks like obviously Saddiq Bey. Those guys need to make 3-pointers, and they did. So that's a stat that really sticks out to me, is that our 3-point shooters, Beal, who's been working on it, Kispert, and let's say Kuzma and Porzingis, of those 4 guys, Porzingis had an okay night. Not really, but the rest of them really didn't. And on the 3 players that we just spoke of, Trae Young 6 for 10, Saddiq Bey 3 for 4, Bogdanovic 4 for 8. I mean, that right there is what killed us. They shot better on the perimeter. Our perimeter defense we need to solve that problem, which is a perfect way for me to pivot to my next point about the Wizards. And I have been not wanting to say this because I hate to say this, but I'll just say it. I can't even get it out, you guys. I believe that part of this loss is coaching. And I don't know enough about what the Wizards' game plan was in this game, but there was just a bunch of Wizards winning defensive possessions, which is great. Like how many turnovers did the Hawks have? 14. And we had 14. So not bad in that department in matching them and we created some of those turnovers, Let's look at our steals. 8 steals to they had 9 steals. Sorry if I'm having audio problems at all in this episode. There's been a lot of audio things happening here. I'm actually gonna I'm gonna leave my piano. But anyway, if I have audio problems today, sorry about that. I'm working a new setup. I'm hearing some noises cut in and out. Off my train of thought. The Wizards seem to be getting some defensive stops, and there's one time where it felt like 4 or 5 possessions in a row we got to stop, and then we just couldn't score. And it makes you think, oh, are we not a good team, or do we? But to me, we have scorers. There's part of me that has to think Wes isn't drawing up the right plays for us on offense to score the ball. Because, let me pause these ads here. Because what is that? Why are there so many empty offensive possessions? If I can, I'll look deeper into some of these stats, but there has to be a stat that I can look up where, I don't know, something about our conversion ratio after defensive stops. It has to be low. There was so many times during this game where we could have picked up the momentum with some consistent scoring, and we just weren't. Like a lot of ISO ball, and I'm not sure if that's on the players or not, but if it is coaching, then this loss, a lot of it is on our 3-point shooting and Wes Unseld. So that's just tough loss. Looking at the stats here on ESPN.com. So I want to move on. I want to move on from this ugly loss. I want to march on. Let's see if my... Man, that was a brutal heartbreak, Wizards. We needed that one. But let's talk about the positives now. So for a little while there, and by the way, we can still go 3-3 in our next in this next 6-game series like I talked about, and it's no big deal. If we could have beat the Hawks in a couple games, it would have been nice. But if we beat Philly tomorrow and then Detroit, in our last 6 games we're 3-3, which I can live with that. So we'll say Philly's actually a big game for us. If it's a loss, then we'll pivot to this conversation I'm about to have with you. And it's that the Wizards, at first I wanted us to push and try and make like the 6th seed. And I think as this season rolls out, I'm starting to realize that's a little bit too high hopes for us. It's a little bit too high hopes. If we can pull off like a 7th seed or something like that, wow, great job, Wizards. But I'm not sure that's going to happen. So what we can forward to as Wizards fans is something I said a long time ago about this season, which is we need to make the playoffs, whether it be through the play-in or however, who cares? We need to make the first round of the playoffs, and we need to win one playoff game. That is like my modest what this season can be for the Wizards. I hope they can accomplish that. Why? Well, if the Wizards can get into the playoffs, that's going to be great for this core group we seem to be invested in to just experience the playoffs together. And if we can get a win, we'll be able to also then feel what it takes to win a playoff game and feel the connection. And that would build some great chemistry, I think, between this team if we could win a playoff game. If we got swept, that would be unfortunate. That would not be good. People will leave. But I think if we can win a playoff game or even come close to winning a playoff series would be the best. Now I'm reaching past my goal. But if we did do that, it would entice some players to stay, like Kyle Kuzma is a big one. If we did well in the playoffs with him, maybe he would want to be the guy. Because that's the biggest thing. I hate to go back to this Kyle Kuzma discussion, but if he does leave in the offseason, the reason he would is just, I think, just championship material. Does Kyle Kuzma really have the belief that he can rise up and take charge of this team and lead us to help lead us to a title? That's really high hopes. But maybe if he believes that, he might stay, right? He's allowed to believe whatever he wants for his competitiveness. So if he really believes that he can be the guy, why not stay here and be the guy? Because you're not going to be the guy in Phoenix. Devin Booker's there and Kevin Durant's there. That might better suit Kyle Kuzma's role, by the way. But we can just only hope that he stays here. But I can smell the train coming from Phoenix, and he's going to get on, and we're just going to watch him walk off into the not sail off, but take that train off into the sunset, and we're just left here at the stop in Washington. That smoke trail behind the train just filled the air everywhere, and we're just not even going to make it to the first round of the playoffs. But this loss, it wasn't as season-ending when I take a look at it as a whole, but it was discouraging. And if we can beat Philly and we can beat Detroit these next two games, I think all Wizards fans will be feeling much more comfortable about the playoffs. Yeah, see, I had a note here. Again, trouble scoring consistently. Why is that? So if anybody watches this and thinks they have an answer to that, please comment it or share it with me, because I don't know. What is it? Why do we have trouble scoring consistently? There's so many games where we need to take over the game and have a healthy lead, and it just feels like eventually at some point in the game, the Wizards just can't keep it up. They can't. It's too here and there, and these close games that we create where it comes down to the last minute, the Wizards seem to always be in this situation, and it's not sustainable. I'll say it over and over again. It's not sustainable. Even if we win like that, it's not sustainable. So we need to change something. I'll end on a positive here today and say, to me, it seems like we are making adjustments game by game, win or loss. I'm not going to be too critical on this team. Seems like the players are making great adjustments. Kuzma seems to be letting the game come to him a little bit. He's not firing up these shots that I think he shouldn't, especially yesterday. I really thought that was great for him. Porzingis was really burning us in the second half. His second half, these last two games, especially that 40-point game, have looked really great. So he's turned that around. Denny Avdia is letting the game come to him a little more. Bradley Beal's been doing great at driving the lane. A lot of late game situations. Beal puts in some scoring to let us have a chance. That feels nice. So a lot of good things are happening. We just need it all to gel. The next step for this team is learning how to have a lead, keep it, and extend it. Like, what I would love to see from the Wizards this year is a couple of games where there's 4 minutes left and it's garbage time. Boop. All the starters out for both teams. All those bench guys in. We get to see Johnny Davis and Isaiah Todd and a bunch of these guys out on the we need to see a couple games like that this year. They need to learn how to do that. If we never see that this year, it's not looking good, Washington fans. So let's hope for that. Let's hope for a win these next two games against Philadelphia and Detroit. And hey, that's all I have today. Praise the Wizards. Preach.